Hello, it's Jill Fielding here, and this is what's caught my eye in the media this week. First of all, who ate all the pies? And I'm talking now about Greggs, who are going to open 100 new shops in 2021, as they fully expect that people will go back to work and start having pies for lunch and so on. And that's a real optimistic view of how the world is going to return to normal, and one that I actually share. I'm not terribly sure people are going to want to stay in their own homes for very much longer, and I think as soon as lockdown is over and we can go back to work, I think people will, even with the unpleasant bits like commuting. And we've also got other evidence that people are wanting to go back to how they were before, because we've had this indoor fitness craze during lockdown, but that appears to be coming to an end, and shares in Peloton, for example, have dropped by 33% since January, at the same time that share prices in Gym Group have risen by 15%. So there's a general expectation that people are going to go back to living how they used to live before, and as I say, that's a view that I personally share. One disappointing and sad piece of news about the pandemic and the lockdown is the lack of properties. And I read a really sad tale this week about a family that had moved 8 times in 10 months, from one short-term let to another short-term let, while they were waiting for their new build house to be finished. And that was because they just couldn't find a long-term rental property to have. And there's shortages all over the country for properties, and that's partly because tenants aren't being evicted under the rules which prohibit evictions or limit evictions during lockdown, but also because people are frightened to let go of a property because there's nowhere else to go. We've got this huge shortage of both properties to buy and properties to rent, and the story is the family are based in Cornwall, and you know, properties are gone before they even come on the market, and that's a very common story across the country, and hopefully that will release a little when lockdown ends. The other piece of sad news for me personally was that I've read that 4,000 ATM machines have been withdrawn or closed in the last year, and some of that is due to social distancing, and some will return, but it's a general trend away from real hard cash. And I know why the ATMs are withdrawn, because apparently we've withdrawn £37 billion less cash during the pandemic than we would do in a normal year. So people are using the flick and swipe pieces of plastic rather than real hard cash. And although I like the swish and flick plastic, I also like cash, because cash is real and it feels real. And when you are in financial difficulty, actually paying for stuff with a flick of a piece of plastic is too easy, and you do it without thinking it through properly. Whereas when you're spending cash, it takes a little longer and it slows down the process and gives you a chance to think it through better and maybe spend less. So cash is real, plastic isn't, but they both come out of your bank account. And if you're comfortable with your money and you're okay, then the plastic is fine, as long as you don't lose control of it. But cash somehow puts a bit of a brake on your spending. So I would hate to see cash go out of fashion, and I'd hate to see all these ATMs staying permanently closed. So this is a bit of a plea really, which is, could you go and use your local ATM, because then it will stay in service. And finally, as they say on all the good news programs, I read a really heartwarming story this week about how all the Reddit investors have jumped on the bandwagon and have adopted 3,500 gorillas for the Dian Fossey Foundation Trust. And apparently one of their members posted about adopting a gorilla a week or so ago, and everybody's joined in and adopted a gorilla. And as well as that, they've donated $350,000 to the trust for the preservation and upkeep of gorillas and so on. And that's a really heartwarming story. I mean, Reddit is fundamentally a social media organisation, and it's really lovely to see social media being used in such a positive way for the, you know, the zoological and animal environment. So well done, Reddit. I'm really pleased with that one. Thanks. Bye-bye.